Hello everyone, my name is Christian. Welcome back to my hobby blog. Today I'm very excited because just yesterday, 2 days ago, I finished book 4 of Dune, God Emperor of Dune. So this book is really fucking weird. The reputation definitely is true. This is definitely the weirdest, most out there book in the series yet, and this will be a spoiler review, so for those who haven't read it, I would not watch this. This book, from the very first chapter, we are immediately met with this air of oppression. And we meet this character named Siona in the beginning, who is sort of this long lost, like, Atreides. And not many people know that she's an Atreides, but she does. And she basically goes into one of the Emperor's secret layers or something like that, and she steals these very important books that are basically accounts through the perspective of Leto, the God Emperor of Dune, and everything that he has been up to for 2,500 years. I had no idea that there would be such a major time jump in this book. I absolutely loved it. I was very excited. Yes, I was a little upset that we got zero mention of Paul, really, in this book. We've had a few mutterings of Muad'Dib throughout this book from the voices within Duke, or not Duke, but Leto, the God Emperor. And that's really it. Like, I have no idea where Paul is right now. And I don't even know if he's alive, because he saw this pathway, the Golden Path, which is basically like this great period of peace, basically, that's only happening because it's such an oppressive, like, top-down tyranny, like tyrannical rule going on through Leto. And it is so fascinating to read this book because most of the characters we don't really know. We sort of know Leto because he was one of the main perspectives in book 3, but he is not anywhere close to what he was, because in Children of Dune, he's like 11 years old, 10 years old. And he has, millions and billions of just memories, just billions and billions of subconsciousnesses or consciousnesses in his own conscience. It's really weird. It's very, very much explained in this third book, Children of Dune. But this was really just... This was my type of book, because this entire book is basically a character study on Leto, the son of Paul. And at this point of the story, he is no longer a human, but now a worm. And all he has from his human body is his face. Everything, the rest of his body is just a worm. And there's this entire idea throughout the novel that Shai Hulud is still within Leto, because at this point of the planet's history, the desert is very much still there, but around where the main headquarters of Leto is a thriving forested area. And we have rivers now. We have the Idaho River, which is a reference to Duncan, Idaho, which I'll get into soon. But, like, the world is just completely different now, because Leto, the last 2,500, 3,500 years, has been slowly cultivating this planet to basically become completely devoid of spice, because he wants absolute rule throughout the entire universe, because he thinks that peace will not come unless he himself has taken control of everything. And that's what the majority of this book is him explaining and exploring his entire thought process and what he is thinking throughout his life, because we cut back and forth a lot through memories that he's had. And so while we are learning about Leto's plan, he is always talking about this golden path. And I've already explained it, but one of the critical parts of it is that he has to become a worm. Like that, this is something unavoidable. He has seen this through his prescience, and he is able to sort of throughout the course of this novel sort of set up the final phase of his plan, which is to turn into a worm and basically take control of all of the worms once he becomes the ultimate worm, because he's able to telepathically control all of the worms in the state. And he wants to basically surround the rest of the moisture that there is on this planet and completely turn it into a desert planet again in order to get rid of spice. That's basically what he wants to do. He basically wants to return the planet to what Arrakis was, which was the dune planets, the sand planet, the desert planet, and he wants to basically just take out the spice because he thinks there's just way too much control. The Bene Gesserit has basically been completely dissolved at this point. There's some rogue like Bene Gesserit lurking around. There's one that we meet by the name of Antiac, who is really fascinating, but she's really not on screen that much. And she's like always talking with one of the other characters is Hui Nori, who is this Ixian spy. And I love everything with Ix. I love Ix. Ix is one of the planets that has been creating all these weird devices. One of them is the Gola, which is basically a engineered human that takes the lump of cells that they extracted from the body and is able to regrow the body. And one of our main POVs, which I think is my favorite POV aside from Leto, is Duncan Idaho. He's still in this book. It's now like the 70th Duncan Idaho, though, because it's been 2,500 years. And this Duncan Idaho, he has so much doubt, and he is just so skeptical. And you really, because this book is such a character study on Leto, you see him and Leto always thinking about the other. And it is such a fascinating dynamic because Duncan, that we grow to learn throughout this book, knows about how so many Duncans have been killed and sort of tossed away, and he has no identity. He feels completely locked in this sort of hellscape feedback loop world, basically, where every time he comes back, he can tell that he's losing more of himself, even though it's an exact copy of them, or of him, that they have made. There's like a fly, sorry. But, like, so this, like this Gola, this Duncan Idaho, like, it is such a fascinating perspective going through all his thoughts, because the entire book, he is just so, like, he wants to support Leto. He thinks he's a disgusting creature, but he has such loyalty to the Atreides. And I just really, really loved the dynamics, and I loved the scenes between them where, like, they were always skating around, or at least Duncan was always skating around the truth because he was afraid of Leto. Everybody is afraid of Leto. And I just really, really, really just loved that, like, storyline. And I loved the entire concept that Frank Herbert was exploring with Leto, the God Emperor, this immortal being who is able to sort of carry on the mission, because Paul did not want to go down this path. He saw this coming, and he said no, and became the prophet that we grow to learn in book 2 or book 3. And we don't really see him this book. We know nothing about where he is, if he died, anything. And we do get some really fun scenes, though, with a character by the name of I'm trying to remember. Sorry, it escaped my brain as I was saying it, but it's Siona. Yeah, Siona. So she's the past Atreides, and she is destined to marry Leto. Is the plan. Hui Nori is one of the spies for the Exians who is sort of trying to murder Leto somehow. And so she comes up with an idea that, hey, maybe we should kill him at his marriage, at his wedding. And so everyone's like, yeah, this sounds great. Leto suspects something is going on, but he is so confident that nothing will go wrong because nothing goes wrong, even though he really enjoys surprises. He doesn't like when power and control is wrested from him. And so we go to towards the end of the book where after all of these really turbulent powers and factions and people just really hating each other, and we have this character, I'm trying to remember his name. So the character I was thinking was Maneo. So he is such a fascinating character. He's the assistant to Leto, and he is always skirting the line with Leto. He is trying to prove himself as a loyalist and a supporter to Leto, but he knows that what he's doing is wrong. And he has all these factions meeting with him because he's the assistant of Leto. He gets the logistics done for Leto. And he is a really, really fun character to see through the eyes of. Because the entire book, he is skirting this line because he's afraid of Leto, but he has such devotion to him. And it's towards the end of the book that everyone just sort of is going to this wedding, and Maneo is there, Siona is there, Hui Nori is there. Duncan Idaho climbs the shield wall, which is this like kilometer tall wall. It's just like in Game of Thrones when everyone's climbing up the wall, and it's this really incredible moment. It's very tense and really well written. I really enjoyed that sequence a lot. But yeah, so Duncan is there, and he works with Hui Nori, and Siona is completely just has no idea what's going on. She is fully in the arms of Leto by this point in the book, and she has put on this identity of the lover of Leto because her entire task by the Bene Gesserit, I believe, they task her with basically infiltrating Leto, and she does, and he knows this. He knows that she's a spy. He doesn't care because he loves her, and he knows that she can't do anything to him. And the scene is shown in spectacular fashion because at his wedding, there's only a few people there. He has his fish speakers, who is this like all-woman soldier force, which is really fun. I really enjoyed that. Duncan does not like it at all. He constantly belittles them, talks shit on them, just the entire book. But we see the wedding happening, and the God Emperor is always on a cart, and he's just being like, it's an electrical cart, and he's being pushed along by whatever physics that Frank Herbert was able to use. And as he's going down with Siona, the entire bridge just explodes and they fall down the bridge. And Leto thinks he's going to die. We get a thing with Siona where she's like, yeah, I'm dead. Like, whatever. Like, yeah, this is it. Like, this is my death. And Leto thinks the same thing. He's like, well, shit, this is where I die. And it ends up he does not die. He is injured, but he does not die from the really tall fall. And so he basically just tells them, like, hey, like, I guess I'm just going to turn into a worm now. And so he's like, I'm going to go into the desert. I'm going to become Shai Hulud. And you guys just keep running my empire. Run everything as I've been doing it. Thank you all so much for what you've been doing. But this is my time. And the book ends. And I'm just like, oh my god, like, what does this mean? Where's the story going? I absolutely love this book. This was my favorite book, I think, of the series. I think book 1 is my favorite in terms of the scope and the scale. But in terms of personal preference and opinions, it's God Emperor. I absolutely love this book. In terms of rating, I haven't really given many ratings the last few videos, so I feel bad. So this is why I'm bringing it up now. But I think this book is a very easy 9.5 out of 10 for me. This book was never boring. I read 200 pages one day, just in one sitting, no problem. I had a little bit of a kink in my neck. That's about the only negative that came out of it. I was not bored. This book was just incredible. I think it's very unfair that there's this entire reputation around Dune where you should only read the first book. I think that is fucking stupid. I do not like that because now that I've actually read the books, I can say with 100% certainty that there's a lot to love in these books. And the story themselves are just fucking incredible. And I don't know why there's this reputation around these books that they're complicated, they're weird, yes, but they're not that complicated. I think it's very weird. It's very out there in terms of logic and just everything with that. But I think these books are very readable, and I think that's going to be my mission for my channel from now on, is to tell people that they should be reading more than just the first novel of Dune, because there's so much to love in these books. The characters keep coming back every single book. So it's one author. I can't speak to his son's work, Brian Herbert's, but Frank Herbert, he knew what he was fucking doing when he was writing these books. And I just fucking love them. This is probably one of my favorite sci-fi series of all time. Probably my favorite sci-fi series of all time, but in terms of series overall, including fantasy and sci-fi and everything else, this is definitely top 5 for me. I fucking love this book. I read it in just 3 days, 600 pages in 3 days. I did really well. I fucking love this book. So if you are still confused on whether you should read this, I think you should read it. Anybody who has any doubts whatsoever should read it. Just see for themselves. Don't let people tell you what your opinion should be about books, especially of Dune, because Dune is one of the best out there, and I think it's, again, very stupid that people say you should only read book 1. So thank you all so much for watching, and please have a great rest of the day.